Well, hi, I'm Dustin Holland with CBR with Renny Harlin and Courtney Solomon here to talk about Strangers. So thank you guys so much. Just to jump in, if you'll pardon the pun, neither of you guys are strangers to the genre. What's the key or the secret to crafting like a really good scare?
There are maybe at least two ways that I can think of crafting a good scare. And one is that you play to the expectations of the audience, because they've seen this type of movies, and you lead them down a certain path and you give them the payoff when they expect to get the payoff and they are satisfied. And the other one is that you lead them down the path, but you surprise them, but not by not giving them a scare, and you leave them hanging, and then you give it to them when they least expect it. And I always say that actually horror and comedy are very similar. They are like two relatives, where the other one is the nice one and the other one is the deranged one. But setting up a scare is like setting up a good joke. You have to have a setup. You have to take the listener or the person watching down a path, and then you have to pay it off or surprise them with the punchline. So they're very similar in that sense, and it's really one of my favorite things to do is to create that situation. And Courtney and I worked very closely together during the shooting on this 280-page script in making sure that we create those situations and that we keep it fresh, we keep surprising the audience, and we're very conscientious of not making these movies that are about jump scares, about always having somebody jump out from around the corner or something like that. These movies are much more about the dread and the atmosphere of just the pressure of what this situation causes, starting with the first movie with the home invasion and then developing far beyond that in the second and the third movie. But these movies, we definitely wanted to stay away from cheap scares and trying to just to get a big reaction out of the audience. We wanted to be much more subtle and just keep a constant tension going.
I'll give you 1 second. Just to say as well, the sound when you're making those scares, is super key. Like that split-second timing and the sound when you edit it, and when you then put the sound on it, if you've set it up the right way, it makes it like super effective.
So obviously you guys must have a great appreciation for the original film, the original Strangers. In terms of sort of expanding on that with, as you said, a 280-page script and a trilogy, what did you want to keep and maintain from the original, and what did you want to add and change? And was it daunting to try to, build out the world of this fan favorite?
Daunting for sure, to answer that question first. So very, very daunting. And when it was presented to me from somebody that had gotten the rights, wasn't actually us, and they came to me, I looked at it and I said, I really am sort of cautious about not wanting to remake such a classic, as far as there's so many people that love the original Strangers. And so 15 years later, I'm not so sure about that. That's not it. So then I said, let me give it a think. And I said, I actually think it provides an opportunity to tell a much bigger story, which is how it turned into a 280-page script. So to be clear, to us, still to this day, I think, Renny, it's one giant movie, because your end of movie one, when you come into movie two, you're basically watching the very next scene. So you're not watching a traditional sequel that now you find the hero, 6 months later, blah, blah, blah. You're in the very next scene of a continuous story. And that's what happens in movie three as well, where you end off. But each movie ends on somewhat of a cliffhanger. So it was an opportunity to tell a bigger story, but we wanted to be true to what The Strangers was, what people liked in it, and we also wanted to satisfy all the questions that have existed for 15 years as well in telling the story. The bigger opportunity was, okay, so now we stay true to more or less the plot structure of the original movie, but obviously have changed it a lot and a lot of things to work within our bigger, 280-page 3-movie story. But as you go through it, you're going to sustain not knowing who those strangers are for a lot of movie 2, but in movie 3, you're actually going to go back and see their exact origin and where they came from. And then you're going to find out how they evolved, and now you're going to find out what they really are. And at the end of the third movie, in the vein of the original movie, you're going to be left with a new question. So, like that.
Yeah, it really, the whole origin of 3 movies is, it's totally Courtney's brainchild, and it's his geniusness. And like, who would have ever thought of, you have to be a megalomaniac like Courtney to come up with even the audacity of telling the studio that that's what we're going to do and you have to give us the money. And when I read that script, I was just blown away. I sat there for about 12 and a half hours reading 280 pages in detail. And I was just transported into that world and didn't want to leave, and begged to get the job to direct the movies. And it was an incredible experience, an opportunity for not only me as a director and Courtney as a producer, but for the actors to, what a unique opportunity to get to explore a character so much deeper than your average 90-minute movie. That it's like just this huge journey that especially Madeline had an opportunity to go to it, and it was a very big challenge, and I can't imagine anybody else but her filling those shoes. And I'm going to tell you something, if you don't mind, that we haven't told anybody, but our secret dream is that one day, after the 3 movies have come out in the theaters one by one, we're not sure yet what the interval is going to be between the release of the movies, but we hope it's not very long so that the audience can really enjoy getting into the next one without waiting for a very long time. But our secret dream is then one day after that, we will actually cut the 3 movies together, and it'll be re-released as one movie, because we want to see what the audience is going to think about going to see a horror movie that is 4 hours long. That's never been done before, so that'll be I think it'll be an amazing experience.
That is our real dream, right? And it would be like an Odyssey of horror, literally, right? And I feel like that movie, if it was one movie, would be so intense to watch from start to finish as one movie that you'd just be like, oh my God, right? Like, you'd be like, literally, oh my God. So, because it is very intense, you know. It's like the original movie, just like there's a weight on your chest the entire time because the intention is very, very thick.
Yeah, how is that for you guys? Because you talk about cultivating a sense of dread with these. Is it, especially with the length and the scope of this, is keeping it accessible while maintaining that level of fear a concern for you guys at all? Like, are you concerned about it being too scary to sustain for the length you're talking about?
A horror movie can never be too scary. But I think if somebody watched all the 3 movies in one go, they would need therapy. So I hope the movie studio doesn't get sued. But I think that the key to all the 3 movies is Madeleine's character, and that we've made sure that the audience will empathize with her on such a high level that it will never be that whether the movie is too scary or not, but that it would be too much for you. I think that the audience will want to know more, and they want to be with her, and they want to take her journey, and they, like she does, they want to find out answers to all these different questions because she does. So I think her character will draw the audience in, even if it was 12 hours long. I
agree with what Renny said, but I feel like, you know, the intent here was to make, as Renny just said, character-driven horror. You know, because our genre, in my view, when I looked at this and I talked to Renny afterwards and a lot of friends, we never get our due in that way. You know what I mean? There's many subsects to our genre, and that's all cool, and we have fun with them, and some of them are just a fun romp, and we're looking for the next big kill. Is Mike Myers going to get up after they drop an A-bomb on his head and he still gets up, or whatever it is? You know, that's a fun thing. There's supernatural horror. In this one, it's really reality-based. You know, you really are supposed to be there with the character and going through all of this with the character, and different things happen because it happens over 4 days. But actually you develop, you know, a sort of thing going on between the antagonist and the protagonist, and you get to delve into them both, right? So it goes a step deeper normally. So it's intense because it's playing as real, and you're really there every beat to see how that character earns it and changes. That's what makes it intense. But and you know, obviously it's in the horror milieu. So then you have scares coming around there, and you have horrific things occurring, and the entire thing that is happening to this character is horrific on its own. So that's what we mean sort of by like intense as well.
Well, and just a final thought, you know, as next year hopefully marks the release of the start of this trilogy, what are you guys most excited for fans to discover as they sit down to watch these?
Well, I think they'll discover, hopefully, that they love these films, but they'll discover Madeleine Petsch in a way that they hadn't seen her. They'll discover an entirely great cast, and ultimately, they'll discover where the strangers came from.
And having done sequels before, for us, it was really important to make sure that first and foremost, we serve the fans of the original movie, because we are fans of the original movie. We are with all of you in the movie theater rooting for that movie. So we wanted to make sure that we honor it, and that the first one of our 3 movies is a reboot of that movie. We are not reinventing the wheel, but that then we go where we believe the fans want to go. But we also surprise them by where we go. And we develop these themes of the first movie much further in the second and the third. But we stay in that tonal, realistic, frightening, character-driven, psychological world that the first movie established. So we want to satisfy the fans, and we want to absolutely shock those who never saw The Strangers to begin with.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. Can't wait for the movie.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Appreciate it.